Hello, ni hao, bonjour, konnichiwa, hola, habari, mulishani, and wagwan. Welcome to Beyond Borders podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host, Dr. Charity Campbell Capella, known in the travel space as Dr. the Explorer, but mostly known as Dr. CK. Here at Beyond Borders, I share transformative travel experiences and cultural insights and help you see that cultural intelligence touches every part of our lives. Now join me as we set out on a journey of cultural discovery and self-reflection. From hilarious travel tales to eye-opening cultural revelations, I'm here to nourish your mind and inspire your soul. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or an armchair adventurer, each episode is packed with aha moments that'll reshape your worldview, practical tips to boost your cultural IQ and your life, inspiring stories that'll make you want to pack your bags, and maybe even a few doctora jingles along the way. So, buckle up, babes, because if you're ready to shatter cultural barriers, ignite your global mindset, and unlock the hidden corners of your own identity, then hit that subscribe button now and get ready for a mind-bending, perspective-shifting, soul-awakening adventure as we blast off to go beyond borders. Hey, bridge builders. I am feeling so much better. I am back in action. After last week's episode, and I told you that I felt like I was getting sick, the flu took me down. Okay, I was down for about 3.5 days, but I'm back. I'm feeling strong. I still have a bit of a cough going on, so I will try to keep this as short as possible. But, the other day, I was reflecting on all these massive changes happening around us, and it hit me. What defines truly great leaders right now is their ability to adapt and include, even when it's not easy. And honestly, that's not just a leadership skill. It's a superpower in my eyes. So let's dig into that today. Now, reality check. The business world is in a state of transition. Across industries, we're witnessing debates and decisions that are impacting the core values of organizations, particularly around topics like diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. For many leaders, it is an unsettling time. Policies and cultural norms are shifting, both in the U.S. and globally, leaving leaders to ask, well, how do I continue to build an inclusive, high-performing team when the traditional DEI playbook is essentially being rewritten? And that's the challenge that we're unpacking today. Why inclusive leadership still matters. How to navigate these uncertain times without compromising your team's cohesion or morale, and the steps that you can take to future-proof your leadership approach. So, first, let's acknowledge how disruptive the rollback of DEI policies can feel, not just in federal workplaces, but as a signal to other organizations. When governments or institutions step away from formalized diversity initiatives, it can send a ripple effect. Leaders might see internal DEI budgets slashed or feel pressure to stick only to the quote-unquote the safe status quo. But here's the truth. The need for inclusive leadership doesn't vanish because policies do. If anything, it becomes more critical. Research shows that diverse and inclusive teams are more innovative, productive, and resilient. And I have some stats that I'm going to share with you in just a little bit about that. And whether or not DEI is being officially prioritized at a government level, professional environments, especially global organizations, cannot afford to fall behind their competitors who do embrace cultural intelligence as an advantage. So don't look at DEI rollbacks as the end of the conversation. Let's look at it as a point of evolution. Now, I want to reframe what truly inclusive leadership looks like so that you, yes, You can rise to this moment, policies or no policies. And guess what? It doesn't have to depend on a line item in your organization's budget. Let's get real about what truly drives lasting change. Cultivating a leadership approach that champions people over protocols, ensuring inclusion thrives regardless of external constraints. Now, at the heart of building an inclusive team lies a very simple question. How can I make my leadership approach people-centered in a way that adapts to change, not fights against it? The rollback of formal DEI policies is, in many ways, an invitation for leaders to make inclusion more personal, more proactive, and a reflection of their individual commitment, not just a company checkbox. And so I want to share with you 3 strategies to do that. Strategy number 1, embrace inclusive leadership as a personal value. The first and most important question to ask yourself is, am I modeling inclusion in my day-to-day leadership? Because let's be honest, if inclusion isn't part of your personal leadership ethos, it's not going to show up in your team culture. Think beyond the language of DEI policies and focus on action. Are you actually listening to every voice in the room, or just the loudest ones? Are you mentoring team members who might not naturally rise to leadership roles because of systemic barriers? And when you're making decisions, are you considering the perspectives of those who may not speak up as often, or those who might come from backgrounds that are vastly different from your own? Inclusion isn't just a team goal. It's a leadership practice. Carry it wherever you go, regardless of shifting external landscapes, okay? The second strategy is build psychological safety over performative diversity. Diversity on its own doesn't work without inclusion, and inclusion doesn't work without psychological safety. Now, for those unfamiliar, psychological safety means your team members feel confident that they can speak up, challenge ideas, share concerns, or even admit mistakes, all without fear of embarrassment or punishment. Why does this matter now? Because as formal DEI programs are rolled back, the symbolism of leadership grows stronger. A psychologically safe environment isn't dependent on mandated DEI training or quotas. It's rooted in how leaders treat and respond to their people every single day. So I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time I asked for feedback on my leadership approach? Am I creating an environment where everyone feels like they belong, or just the ones who are most like me? How am I encouraging learning conversations instead of shutting down dissent? Psychological safety starts small, okay? It's in how you respond to a team member who disagrees with you, how often you acknowledge the contribution of others, and essentially how you hold space for difficult conversations about identity and inclusion, even when it's uncomfortable, okay? So we need to make sure that we are creating psychologically safe environments, even in the rollback of DEI training programs. And the third strategy that I want to share in today's episode is to go beyond the one-size-fits-all leadership. Inclusive teams are successful teams. I'm going to say this again, okay? Inclusive teams are successful teams because they are empowered to bring their unique strengths forward. Your job as a leader isn't to flatten differences into sameness. It's to elevate the strengths of those differences. Now, let's talk real numbers that prove what many of us already know in our hearts. Inclusive leadership isn't just the right thing to do, but it is smart business, okay? McKinsey research shows companies with ethnic and cultural diversity are 36% more likely to outperform their less diverse counterparts, while Deloitte found inclusive teams crush their performance goals by 80%. Now, if that's not enough and you want more evidence, diverse teams make better decisions, 87% better, according to Harvard Business Review. But here's where it really gets exciting. When you build truly inclusive teams, you're setting yourself up for breakthrough innovation. BCG's research reveals companies with diverse leadership teams generate 19% more revenue from innovation, and Gartner found inclusive teams boost overall performance by up to 30%. Now, these aren't just numbers, okay? I'm giving you the receipts. These are proof that when we lead with inclusion, everybody wins. Now, the numbers tell a story of progress, albeit slow. Women holding 29% of senior management roles globally, diverse companies being 70% more likely to capture new markets, and then 67% of job seekers prioritizing workplace diversity in their career decisions. But here's the million-dollar question, friend. What happens to this momentum in a post-DEI world? As companies begin dismantling their diversity initiatives and removing DEI from their strategic priorities, we are standing at a crossroads. Will the 76% of employees who value diverse workforces still find companies that align with their values? What becomes of the pipeline for diverse leadership when only 8% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women and 1.2% are Black? The business case is clear. Companies with diverse leadership are 21% more likely to experience above-average profitability. Yet, with formal DEI programs under fire, the real test becomes whether organizations can maintain and build upon these gains through authentic, people-first leadership rather than structured initiative. And this is where cultural intelligence, or CQ, plays a major role. It's about understanding and adapting to the cultural context that drive your team members, not just in terms of ethnicity or race, but also values, communication styles, and global perspectives. If you're leading a hybrid or multinational team, you might have someone who values direct feedback and another who thrives in a relationship-first approach. How you communicate, delegate, and resolve conflict needs to take into account who they are and what inclusivity looks like from their unique vantage point. Building an inclusive team, it doesn't mean adhering to rigid policies or holding redundant diversity workshops. It means doing the work to meet people where they are and empowering their growth and participation from there. So let's broaden the lens for just a moment, okay? In a globalized world where companies like yours may operate across borders, the U.S. rollback on DEI policies is significant, but it is not the whole story. If we zoom out, many countries, especially across Europe and Asia, they are doubling down on inclusion as part of their competitive strategy. They see inclusion as talent attraction, innovation, and global collaboration wrapped into one. How do I know? Because I've worked in many of these organizations and companies, living abroad, traveling to 31 countries. If your company operates internationally, remaining inclusive isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about maintaining competitiveness and relevance on a global stage. Employees, clients, and stakeholders, they are paying attention to how leadership shows up to these challenges. Your decision to prioritize inclusion, even in small daily ways, sends a message. It says, we're still moving forward, even when external forces would have us go backward. Now that is leadership that inspires. And today, I want to wrap up this episode with a challenge. How will you ensure your leadership evolves in this moment? Who is your team going to become when inclusivity is shaped not by policies, but by personal intention and practice? Remember, the absence of top-down DEI policies doesn't stop you from creating an inclusive team. If anything, it calls upon you to step into your leadership with greater intention, creativity, and yes, cultural intelligence. Take these strategies, reflect on your position, and commit to leading forward. I know the past week has been topsy-turvy. It's been crazy, and a lot of people are now operating in fear, but you don't have to be one of them. You got this. Listen, I want to thank you for listening to Beyond Borders podcast. I can't express my gratitude enough. It humbles me to know that you tune in every week to learn from me. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Beyond Borders podcast. Download today's episode, rate, comment, and share so we can ignite a cultural revolution all across the globe. I also invite you to connect with me on YouTube, Pinterest, and my newest adventure, Substack. Let me know what kind of cultural insights and travel experiences you'd like to see more of. Also, if you have any questions or would like to be a guest on the show, please email me at charity@drtheexplorer.com and someone will respond in a timely manner. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, remember to keep your mind open and your suitcase ready. See you in the next episode as we go Beyond Borders.